Good morning. It's November 16th, Wednesday. This is Mike Mock with the Lansing Trade Group's morning comments here for you. Yesterday we touched quite a bit about the concerns we had with corn. That still exists today. We want to really push for what we like to call calls to action. We think execution is important. A lot of times with these kinds of videos and marketing information, it's nice to hear for folks, but they don't generate any kind of activity. And we think there's some important things to talk about that could lead to some trades, some transactions in the days ahead. And let's start with this. We're rapidly approaching the Thanksgiving Day holiday. The next week or so, we tend to have a strong seasonal for upward movement in prices, particularly in soybeans. We've got the November new crop next year at $9.90 here. We've mentioned a couple of times now we've gotten the November 17 futures prices above $10. We think if we can get up into that 10 to 1010 area again in the SX17, we want to take a good hard look at establishing what we like to call a min-max averaging program, where we set a floor, we reduce the cost of the floor by establishing a ceiling, and then we average price a certain amount of bushels each and every single day at the close between now and next fall. We love this particular type of contract because it forces execution. Once we know it's in place, it's basically hands off, and the contract prices itself within those parameters between now and next fall. So if we can get a 10 to 15 to 20 cent bounce, which would not be unusual between now and the upcoming holiday, we want to take a good hard look at setting floors, for example, at 980, certainly no lower than 960, and finance them with ceilings at 1060, 1080. So make sure that you get with your Lansing trade rep and start working some open offers on those sorts of programs. Now, yesterday we mentioned corn, and we want to come back to that as well. In the case of both corn and wheat, we've seen open interest go up rather dramatically since the report last week. That means the overall involvement in the trade is bigger. For every sale, you have a buy offsetting it. But obviously, we had very aggressive selling in both wheat and corn from the fund spec types. The offsetting buy on the other side is the consumer kind of interest. The farmers kind of stood by and watched. We think that, again, with the seasonal kind of strong here, that we may see, started yesterday, continued overnight, a little bit of a short covering bounce here. Again, we're not talking very much, maybe 5, 8 cents, certainly no more than a dime in both old corn and new corn, and we think those represent opportunities. In the case of old crop, because we know the amount of bushels we produce this year, we want to make catch-up sales and basically in the cash markets, flat price, particularly in the back end. We've got about 22, 23 cents in futures carry from December 16 to July 17. We like selling the back end, and as we mentioned yesterday, using the loan for cash flow. What we haven't talked a lot about lately, and we think we need to get started, is in the new crop. We've got December 17 futures at about $3.80. We would remind everyone that last February, for crop insurance purposes, we averaged $3.85 during the month of February, so within a nickel of those values. And we think that costs this year, particularly with fertilizer continuing to come down, is 5 to 10% cheaper than it was a year ago. So we're prepared at a $3.80, $3.85 kind of December 17 level to also establish some floors. That far out in time, we're not really a fan of fixing the price with a flat price contract. We would much prefer the flexibility of the minimum maximum. So again, if we can push December 17 corn another 3, 5, 7 cents higher here, we would look very, very hard at 370, 420, 380, 430, some mix of that sort of thing in terms of establishing a minimum price financed by a maximum price that prices an equal increment of bushels every day on the close between now and next fall. We think that we have to get started establishing floors going forward, because the overall scenario, if South America raises anything close to a normal crop, the market will probably have to take prices down further into the spring, especially in corn, to actually discourage acreage rather than encourage it. That's all I got for you now. You have a great Wednesday. We'll talk to you first thing tomorrow.